control earmarking system. For some of you, that's a problem. For most of you, it will be better. We can't afford to sort of make this a great big political grab bag. That's one of the reasons why some people are going off to jail right now. It's one of the reasons why the system doesn't work very well. And it's one of the things that is going to change if my party takes control of the House. And I think it's something that's going to happen if the Republicans hold on by their fingertips. Earmarking is something we all have to get behind and sort of rein in. There will be, with your help, in the new reauthorization, less of this process stuff. I have heard from, I can't remember how many secretaries of transportation, that we're just about to get our arms around this process. We're going to save some money. We're going to streamline that. We're listening to Bill Millar and all of you transit junkies and you infrastructure types. Well, it's time for us, all of us, to roll up our sleeves and make that happen. Part of it is what Congress is going to have to do. Congress has not been particularly helpful in this, in part because when it's easier to have process and roadblocks and interfere than actually allocate the money. You know, process as a substitute for resource. And there's enough blame to go around. And I think we all need to focus on that and hold people accountable to streamline it, because we can't afford more process. And the fact is, we don't need the process that we've got. Back in '86, you know, we opened our first rail line in Portland. It was kind of an experiment. Well, it ain't an experiment anymore. You know what to do. There are extremely competent people in the private sector and in the public sector who know how to build and construct rail lines. It's time for us to... that people in some states were hung up over the fact that they were only getting back 91.5 cents, you know, the donor-donee battle. What's the real issue of donor-donee? It's not state versus state. It's region versus region. And the majority of metropolitan areas, where the majority of people live, where the majority of the congestion and the air pollution needs to be addressed, it's shortchanged. Southern California, what's the number? $1.16 billion. They get less than they put into the federal coffers. Dallas, I think it's 78 cents on the dollar. At a time when Tom DeLay was holding the bill hostage over issues of 92 and 93. All of you need to help us focus on metropolitan equity in terms of the fund flow and maybe the control. Because not only are we shortchanged in dollars, but most metropolitan areas have control over the spending of only a fraction of the fraction that they get back. These are the sorts of things that we have to wrap our heads around in terms of reauthorization, because it's too late right now to start. We have to make very sure that we're not just waiting for reauthorization in 2009, 2010. There are reauthorization opportunities that are coming forward right now. The Farm Bill has opportunities for transportation, for small town revitalization, and for projects, frankly, that will make a difference for most metropolitan areas. We need to be thinking about, as we move forward, not just T4, but other reauthorizations before Congress. We need to continue our creativity in advancing these cases. I note that there's going to be a nice little book. We might recent hobby horse streetcar over the last 20 years. We are very proud that we opened what we like to claim is the first modern streetcar in Portland. Bill, thank you for referencing it. I understand that we're going to have a couple hundred copies of this Street Smart, Streetcars in Cities in the 21st Century, that are going to be available here. Our friends from Reconnecting America have been responsible for a great volume. Part of a broader toolkit. I think streetcars, wonderful, cycle, affordable housing, the toolkit that you're going to see here today and through the course of the conference is going to be, I think, a part of what we need to be revving up and taking back with sort of almost the missionary zeal that my friend Bill Millar is able to generate wherever he goes in almost any circumstance. People need to take this more seriously in terms of taking the livable community template, taking it back to your community, building that civic infrastructure that's necessary to be able to drive those points across. Whether it's Bangkok, Bangor, or Boise, people care about the same fundamental issues. They want their families to be safe, healthy, and economically secure. And they look to you, dealing with transportation and infrastructure, as sort of a magic solution. Because you can write this, put the stuff up on the butcher paper, and you've got the slides and the PowerPoints, and you bring people together. It gives them hope and opportunity, and it helps motivate and direct them. But even though I think we're going to do a better job in terms of infrastructure financing, we're not going to have the trouble that we had this session. We will have the next administration will be, I think, more sensitive to the funding issues. Congress was ready to pass a more robust bill, but the leadership would not let it come to the floor. That's going to change. There will be more money. There will be more opportunities, both in Congress and the next administration. But you know what? That's not the answer. We're going to spend, $2 trillion this year on transportation, and it will be 10% that's government, 3% that's federal. So the lessons that we learned here about how to put the pieces together, how to coax more value out of the private sector, how to send signals for where we're going as a community, that's the key. That's the key. I pledge to you that the federal government will do a better job in the months and years ahead. I'm absolutely convinced of it. But it's not going to be enough to fill the gap if people in Cook County don't want to step up locally. It's not going to be enough if people in the private sector are going to still design strip malls that are appropriate for the 1960s. Actually, they weren't even appropriate for them. It's not going to be enough. So the work of Rail-Volution for the big picture, what's outside the window, and building the partnerships, the civic understanding, is essential if we're going to be able to take appropriate advantage of the federal partnership. Last, but by no means least, it goes beyond the livable community. If you've been watching those painful ads, if you've been frustrated that government isn't providing what it ought to be doing, if you cringe when you open the morning paper, you won't even watch C-SPAN anymore, I think there's one other element that we're about. And that is the work that you are doing in building livable communities, in providing things on the ground, are an example of the cooperation and the bringing people together that ultimately is going to heal the body politic. You're going to show politicians how to work together in ways that people expect government to perform. So I express my deep appreciation for your being here and committing the next 3 days to this important work. It's not just building your communities, it's saving us from global warming and saving politicians from themselves. Thank you very much.